All right, we're going off now, and we are going to hit a chest and tricep day. Now for today, we're gonna be hitting, I think, some incline dumbbell. We got a lot of great fly variations at this gym. It's the Y, the same Y I hit back yesterday and back and bicep yesterday, and we also have shoulders, so that'll be fun. So the whole point of this is just to really execute what we're going for, right? And what are we going for when we go into the gym? We're going for, obviously, bigger pecs. Bigger pecs, just an overall better look, right? We want those double Ds, right? And the one thing that you don't get when you're training lousy is you don't get the results that you want. And like I've said always in the past, and every time that I talk to you guys on here, is you have to execute with intensity. You will not make results or as much results as you want if you train lousy. The one thing I'm scared about with a personal training thing for myself when I train in person is I might push these people too hard. Not Tom Platz level of intensity, by no means, but when it comes to just being able to, find the right intensity for these people, because my intensity is 100%. Not all the time, right? Sometimes I train, it's like a 90% set, 95, sometimes even an 85, where I'm like, okay, let me go up and wait one more set. But most of the time I'm about 100, right? And the thing with personal training is everyone's different. Everyone has different goals. Sometimes people don't want to be bodybuilders, right? And we just want to have better health. Like, it's specifically a lot of older folks. And my thing is, I'm always going to be 100%. So, like, the one thing I will warn you guys about is if you're in my personal training, I'm going to push you past your limits, mentally and physically. I'm going to say you have one more. You have one more. And then I'm going to give them tips of eating a lot of protein afterwards. That's what you need to do. The one thing that you guys need to do if you train intense, and that's why protein and carbs are so important, because if you have a hard session, well, for one, you're lacking glycogen and you're lacking glucose because you've already used all of it. You've used all your energy on your lifts because, you're training intense. So when it comes to wanting to train intense again, wanting to recover, you need these things to recover properly. So if you don't want to repeat the process of always being sore or being able to recover from your workouts or whatnot, you need these things, right? Then what does fats do, Eli? Well, what it does, it just allows your hormones to be more balanced, right? If you have no fats, let's say you want a very high carb, very high protein, but zero fat diet, you'll probably look really good. Now, for one, how are you finding getting 5 grams of fat, 220 grams of protein, and so many carbs or whatever? But also, a lot of that's chicken probably, but the main thing is you're gonna just feel hormonally imbalanced, and what that might look like is you're gonna get more irritated, you're gonna get more frustrated, you're gonna be just overall a worse mentally capacitating person. Because like I've said in the past, if you build mental stability by doing things that you don't have to do that are challenging, then you're gonna build that mental stability up, right? Well, a lot of that goes into play when you have fats in your life, right? If you have a high fat diet, too many fats is bad for your body, but too low of fats is also bad for your body. So you need like a moderate 80, 70, 90 grams of fat, 100 grams sometimes, depending on what your diet looks like. If you're having a lot of eggs or a lot of steak or a lot of beef, sometimes you'll get more fats. Like, a lot of my fats, they come from beef, right? Majority of my fats come from beef. Luckily, I'm not getting a lot of fats and a lot of other things unless I have like a cheat meal that day. And I don't even like to count as a cheat meal because I don't even dislike my diet. Like, a lot of people, when they ask me, like, how do I eat the same thing every day? Like, I just genuinely don't dislike it. I don't dislike my lifestyle of being a bodybuilder, right? I don't dislike that lifestyle. It's not the most fun for everybody. It's sometimes boring because you're doing the same thing and you have to be on it, right? Like, I can't slack and not eat a meal. That can't happen, or else I'm not going to gain the progress I want to. But that's the commitment of this lifestyle. Same with everything else, with your religion, with your relationships, with your work, with your disciplines and hobbies and stuff. You need to have some sort of commitment, right? And depending on, if it's good or bad, you might need to drop some things too. That's the one great thing about all this is, it's not 100% promised to us, right? Like, this whole thing is, I could chop off my arm tomorrow, knock on wood. There's no wood in here, but theoretically, if there was wood. But what would I be able to do? Well, I, for one, probably wouldn't be able to train for a while, and then I'd have to get back to training, but I wouldn't be able to train normally ever again. And that would suck. That would really ruin a lot of things for me. But that's why in the moment right now, where I have the availability to do these things and to train as hard as I want and to pursue this lifestyle, I'm going to train as hard as I can. Man, it's like you only live once, so you might as well put your full effort towards something that you enjoy, right? And like I said, there's good and bads, right? And if, there's something good, but you're overly obsessive, it can be bad, right? Like a relationship, if you're overly obsessive, that's sometimes not a good thing. If you are in the gym like me and you're overly obsessive with the gym, then that could be bad. I'm not saying don't obsess over things, right? Because I think there's good obsession, right? You could be obsessed with your success, but overly obsessive is just when you're kind of, everything has to be perfect. And if it's not perfect, you crash out. No, being obsessive, I think I'm obsessive with my relationship and with like my goals in the gym and whatnot, because when I'm obsessive, I can still find a balance of being able to be like, okay, this didn't go the way I wanted to. Let me go this route instead, right? Because if I'm always like, it needs to be this exact way, well, then my schedule can never change. And then I never have time for anybody else, nothing else, right? Like if I wanted 220 grams of protein in this split amount of hours, and I'm over obsessive, let's say it's like, okay, well, I got like a call that my mom was in the hospital. No, I need to get 220 grams of protein. I need to get 40 grams of protein right now. I can't go to the hospital right now. No, that's dumb. I would expect you and expect myself to go to the hospital. For one, drink a protein shake if I really cared that much at that certain moment. Or two, find a different route of doing things, right? You'll always have another way of doing things. So be obsessed with your goals. Be obsessed with getting better. Be obsessed with something. But don't be over obsessive. I remember there was a time in my life where I was over obsessive with things, and it was not a good lifestyle. That's why I tell you guys, don't be over obsessive, right? Because you need a balance of things. You need to know who you are as a person, where you stand in life, and execute your goals. At the end of the day, you get one life. Be obsessed with learning and doing better. I need to clean my glasses, man. These are so dirty. I didn't even realize till I got in my car how dirty they were. I can barely see. All right. Other than that, y'all, let's get into the gym. All right, so first move we're going to be doing is an incline upper chest movement. You're going to be hitting your front delts, but also triceps when you're doing a push movement. So, whole point of this is tuck your elbows in. Make sure you're not flaring too far out, or you'll get just a lot of, unnecessary shoulder activation. You don't want that. But train controlled and slow on the way up, and do some partials at the end. And at the very end, make sure you hold it there for a second to get a deep stretch. Now what we're going to be doing is using our elbows to almost touch each other. That's why I really like this machine compared to a normal pec deck. I don't know if I'd prefer this one or just a normal pec deck, but it's just a really good movement, so you almost just have to use your elbows rather than touching your hands together. So So, but just make sure you're training moderately heavy, maybe a little bit lighter, just to get the good squeeze and a good stretch of the back. But make sure you're staying controlled the whole time. Now, as everyone knows, dips are pretty easy for the most part. So what I like to do to hit my chest and make them a little bit more hard is I like to put my elbows in a tucked position. I like to go almost all the way up, and then I like to go all the way down in a controlled manner and keep my knees up. And I like to have my head down. That's the way I hit my chest the most. Now we're going to be hitting these side delts, and we're just going to be going all the way out. Make sure you're not raising up, but raising out. Make sure you hold it at the top for just a split second, and then go slow on the way down. Alright, now we're going to be working the rear delts and a little bit of traps when you do these. And then we're going to be supersetting with lateral raises again. Also just to hit the side delts once again. But make sure you're exploding on the way back and going somewhat slow on the way down. And that's really it. Woo! Howdy, howdy. Oh, we are done. We are done. I just played basketball for like 45 to an hour, I think, or something. Way longer than usual. Because I played games with actually some guys. 5-on-5. It was really fun. I played pretty well, I thought. You know, made some good plays and whatnot. But for a guy who hasn't played in a while and who barely ever plays, I think I did pretty well. But we're done. We're out of there. Good chest day overall. My lower back just keeps wanting to give me problems. Love that. But overall, just, I mean, shit. There is not much to really do about that, you know, right now. It's just about, you know, getting the reps in and trying to really execute what I want to do, right? And that's for anything, right? It's all about reps. It's all about, you know, experience. And it's all about just doing that consistently, right? The guy who cares about his lower back and wants to get his lower back better is going to do far better than the guy who cares about his lower back but doesn't really do anything, right? Like, you have guy A who smokes cigarettes all the time, sits on his ass, and doesn't get much exercise, and complains about his back problems all the time, right? And then you have another guy who is active, you know, whatnot, who's complaining about his back problems, but he's stretching, he's doing certain exercises differently, he's performing other exercises. Who do you think is going to get more results and more pain-free? I mean, you put 2 and 2 together, it's not hard to put in perspective of who's actually going to, you know, do better. So, it's like I said, it's all about reps. It's all about consistency, because if you have no consistency whatsoever, then you're not going to get far in your dreams, right? And I know I'm kind of going from just guy getting his lower back better to the dreams, but I mean, at the end of the day, yes, it's some luck, right? Like, the guy who smokes cigarettes all day, his back might honestly end up better than the guy who does the exercise and all that. Or it just might repair quicker for some reason. But more likely, that guy who smokes cigarettes all day is going to get reoccurring back problems, right? That's not to say don't do the things that you want to do to get better at certain things, but that's just saying there's luck involved in everything. It's mathematical equations and luck, right? At the end of the day, whatever you choose to do with your time is up to you, right? You could be the guy who's consistent all day long. You could be the guy who chases after stuff, or you could lose it all really quick, right? It's up to you at the end of the day to make decisions, right? You have free will. It's what God intended us to have, right? He didn't want us to be slaves. He wanted us to be people. And as people, we have to decide what we want to do. We have to decide if we want to better ourselves or make our current situation worse. Because a lot of guys, gals, or whatever, they have the potential to do anything they want, right? Now, there's some circumstances where, some people are disabled. They can't be an NBA player, right? There's obviously limitations. But a lot of it is self-destruction, not being consistent, and not shooting for your goals, settling. That's one of the scariest things, in my opinion, is just having a life where you settle, right? That's my perspective, right? That's my opinion. And your opinion might be different. Some guys might love that 9-to-5 lifestyle, but to me, I don't see any type of pleasure in that. I don't see any type of fun in that. I do see fun in conquering my goals, conquering myself, conquering my mind. It's all about getting better at the end of the day. So I just want to thank you for watching this video. Hope you liked it, subscribe, do all that. And keep striving after the goals. Goodbye.